I shared in a previous video many of the reasons we in the United States pay very, very high prices for our private ballroom dance lessons. And some of the many reasons I cited were it's a payback for what we paid for our education. Because I got news for you. Ballroom dance lessons were never cheap. I paid less than $100 for a private lesson only at the very, very infant stages of my career when I was taking from really social teachers. I'm not throwing shade. They are the lifeblood of our industry and get everyone in. But any competitor lesson I've ever taken with a decent trained coach has been in excess of 100 and many in excess of 200, depends on that level of that coach, okay? And one of our friends shared in the comments, is it fair that the coaches who come in from other countries who are paying diddly squat for their dance training coming up the ranks, then they move in here, then charge us out the wazoo for their private lessons when they did not put in that financial investment that we as the American, coaches who kind of, I'll say, grew up in the American dance sport system paid. Never occurred to me until they said this. And I was like, well, yeah, I kind of got the short end of the stick big time. I have a friend who is a very, very well-known professional, nationally, internationally, who shared with me they paid $10 for every private lesson they took in their home country. Oh my heavens. I just can't even wrap my head around it. So am I jealous? Yeah. However, I do have a number of strong feelings on this. Number one, as a former studio owner myself, I owned the largest ballroom dance studio in the country for over 15 years. I have personally sponsored international championship level coaches to come in to either live here and teach or do visit and coaching. And the way the American work visa system operates, I legally must guarantee that I am paying them, and it's something like 30% higher than the going rate for someone of commensurate skill level in our industry. And so if they're here as an employee or sponsored by someone, legally they actually have to charge a ton of money. And that is what it is. So I don't know if you might not be aware of that. Secondly, in their defense, they did put in that time. It's very rare. I mean, I've seen it, but I'm just looking at my friends. Most of them stayed amateur into their mid to late 20s. Many stayed amateur into their 30s. They're now very successful pros. But imagine if you became, some sort of very specialized, like I said, surgeon. You would put in that level of investment into your education and your life, not be earning income during that time to cultivate your skill and knowledge to the point that you can train a competitor. So I'm not talking about social teachers, again, not throwing shade at them, but they obviously, they can go take a, 1 week dance course at a franchise and be teaching the next week. But for the coaches that are able to train successful, competitors on that open circuit. Yeah. They put in a ton of time. Okay. But like you mentioned, now that I think about it, yeah, it does feel unfair to me, honestly. I'm not saying that I should be paid more for my services. I do charge commensurate with my own training. But yeah, I got opinions. It does chap my hide, and here's what I've seen that I detest. Many of them cheat on their taxes here, okay? So I've sponsored international ballroom dance teachers, either on work visa, like a long-term one or short-term. And almost all of them expected me to pay them in cash, which I wouldn't do because I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm not breaking the law for you so you can cheat on your taxes. And honestly, me as the employer, I have to pay part of the taxes too. I don't mind doing that. I'm just not someone that breaks the law. You know, number two, I do feel like they are taking advantage of a wonderful opportunity to teach here, okay? And as such, in my opinion, they should pay back into that system. Number three, our taxes in the United States are significantly lower than elsewhere in the world. So if they had taught that same super expensive lesson in their home country, they'd be paying way more for that privilege to charge out the wazoo. So no, don't come here and, be a leech on the system and just take everything back with you. I had a pro friend, who was stopped. Apparently there is a legal limit to how much cash you can bring on an airplane. And when someone is paid in cash, you got to take it on an airplane with you unless you're swimming home. And they got in trouble for that. As well they should. And I'm just surprised they're not even ashamed to admit that to me. I just think that's all sorts of sus. Now, granted, there are American, meaning American citizen, people that grew up in our culture system that do cheat on their taxes as well. I had an American coach early on in my career. Actually, I wouldn't even say the term coach, mediocre social teacher. And when I went to pay for my lesson, which, when I'm quite young, I was like, 18 or something at the time, I had no money. I went to pay with a check and he was like, I don't want to declare this. It'd be a professional courtesy to me that you pay me in cash always. I'm like, what's professional about you cheating on your taxes? And why is that my problem? It does happen. And in the defense of the foreign nationals, I have had many coaches I've taken from that will accept checks, no problem. I don't think I've ever taken from a coach that has accepted credit card payments. That might be more of a luxury in a chain studio or a very large studio, but I just know from accepting credit cards myself in my studio, it's expensive to do that. That does not necessarily indicate they're cheating on their taxes. And I've had many gladly, graciously accept check payments, okay? And I had that American coach who was pulling that same monkey business, and I don't agree with that. I just feel like, what do you want to live in anarchy? I want roads that are paved. I want to pay policemen so my house doesn't get broken into. Like, I do think it's fair to pay for what you get. And we get a lot here in the United States. We have a beautiful standard of living. Also, to be clear, I appreciate that they are moving here. It improves our dance sport culture because it attracts, because of the rich United States dance economy, we attract the best pros here. I personally do not think we'd be slaying it at the World Championships in Blackpool if we didn't have very deep pockets here to pay these people to move here. You know what? Look at the last names, even in American style. They're very likely international competitors. And then that is a blessing to us as Americans because then we get easy access to those coaches. I've flown all over the place to get coaching. Gotta tell you, it's cheaper and faster to fly when they're in the United States. Or some of you are even fortunate enough to live where you can just, drive in your own city to get, decent competitive training. I do understand there are many dance deserts. There are entire states where that's not an option, and my heart just goes out to you. But you know what? The dance sport world is changing. I really feel it's obviously COVID was a big setback for every single industry, but certainly with Dancing with the Stars, so you can dance, just the kind of growth of dance sport and popular culture, I do feel it's going to spread and the dance deserts are going to get smaller, friends. I am super curious, guys. Please, if you are one of our foreign national friends here, please share with me, share in the comments, PM me, private message if you're not confident doing that. What is the going rate in your country? I'm really wondering, is the United States the only place that I am paying out the wazoo for private lessons? Guys, I share with you, in Blackpool, I have a friend who came up through the American system, very well-known dancer. Now, he had to live on ketchup packets in Blackpool because he had spent every single penny to get there with the training, with the costumes, etc. Just living hand to mouth. And now he's making a great wage, but in my opinion, he worked hard for it. I was there, saw it with my own eyes. Okay, guys, so thank you so much for sharing that interesting, insightful comment. It never occurred to me, but yeah, it kind of does. I'm not mad that they're here, but I'm jealous. Mama be jealous, truth be told. I wish I had been able to save money and not live in poverty for a substantial part of my life to get where I am today. So guys, thanks for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you first thing tomorrow morning for some more things ballroom dance. Okay guys, have an awesome day. Happy dancing.